Everybody is healthy. Jaquan is good. Nick is back better. Nick was terrible. Nick shouldn't even played at Tulane, man. He didn't practice with us at all. Bad food poisoning. You can just tell if you know his game, all off kilter. And that's about it. Everybody else is good. Naquan got the scratch on the retina. Couldn't practice yesterday. Because of the light. He had to wear like sunglasses or whatever, and but he practiced today. And everybody's much better. I don't know if he's going to – he didn't wear goggles in practice, so maybe, maybe not. But it was pretty bad. It was pretty red in there. Yeah, again, I'm having to start all over. I'm taking what I usually do in the beginning and doing it now. You know, the one thing I did wrong was I accepted in winning what I wouldn't accept in losing, and it caught up to us. You know, the bad loss against South Florida, the meltdown, and then the injuries to me hurt us in the Tulane game. So that's what starts to happen when things start going downward. You lose Jaquan Walden, you really don't have Nick Jourdain, and you lose Naquan Tomlin, and then Malcolm having the game that he was having. He fouled out late, but he fouled out. And we didn't use Jordan Brown. So it's that type of stuff that didn't happen to us one time in that 10-game win streak. Obviously, Caleb got hurt against SMU, but we didn't have these little knickknacks that was having guys out of a game to not be able to finish the game. So that's what happens when it gets crazy.
Chemistry has been an issue, with people coming in and out and all like that. What's going to take to get everybody on the same page for the 35 minutes?
I think it's just to continue to watch film, continue to communicate off the court, get in practice, and understand where our weaknesses are and attack the weaknesses. There's nothing new under the sun. What we had in the 10-game win streak is what we have right now. We have to get better. We're kind of locating and pinpointing some things that are more evident than what it was earlier. When we played at the non-conference, I just don't remember this poor decision-making defensively, this over-helping, this leaving three-point shooters just nonchalantly. I just don't remember any. I think it was more of a sense of urgency. And since conference has started, we've fallen off a huge part of, defensively of what we really believe in and what we do. So I think this week was needed for us to get back to where we need to be.
Have you seen, you instituted or implemented some new zone actions on offense against Tulane?
Yep.
Are you kind of pleased with what you've seen kind of that development over the last couple of days?
Yeah, I think the points haven't been the problem. I think it's what we're giving up, because, we're getting the looks that we want. It's just not stopping anybody. And once we get to the level of a top-5 defensive team, which I think the capability of this team can do so, it's just I ignored a whole lot of things, just this team just being from – it's the programs that they came from, the different mindsets, the different thinking, and what we were giving them. A lot of them were leaving out saying that they understood, but when the game started, it looked like they didn't. And we just fought through it to get 10 games. The way we won those 10 games was just more talent than everybody else, and really making timely shots and doing what we needed to do. And David Jones was playing off the planet. He was just phenomenal for that month and a half or whatever. And then JQ started to come along. But what was glaring was the defensive side. You're giving up too many points. And, in some cases, it was ball movement. You have 8 assists against South Florida. You have, not that many assists against Tulane. You got to move the basketball, and we're getting better with that as well.
Penny, when you talk about kind of changing things, starting from ground zero, whatever you said, what does that look like? Like kind of going back to your bread and butter? What are those things implemented, and how have the guys responded to that?
Well, we've kind of made it up on the fly for those 10 games just to try to make everything fit, and didn't want to press too hard because if it wasn't broke, we weren't going to fix it. We were trying to do small things, but it needed to be major reconstructive surgery, and we didn't do it. And it's basically just identifying your weaker defenders versus your top defenders, understanding who's on the floor, and what we need to do to protect in certain areas. It's just the truth. And I believe in packing the paint and then getting out. We weren't packing the paint. We were giving them both options. So now we're getting back to what we do. This is Memphis basketball starting moving forward. And now that the losses are here, I hate it had to be a loss to get there, but we just let a lot of stuff slide when we were winning because we were winning.
Obviously, the AAC as a whole has been pretty up and down, but one thing that's been pretty consistent is SMU. Considering the non-conference schedule that you guys play, how would you have reacted in the preseason if I told you, hey,
Yeah, that's that's crazy. But you know, SMU is playing really good basketball. You know, they're dedicated to the defensive end. You can just tell they double team the post. They don't let you get into their paint. They close out properly. They're very physical, and they're locked in on winning. You know, and they kept their core together, even though they got a lot of players. They kept their core. Again, having all these new players, it was going to be rocky, and we did some things early that were just phenomenal. But you usually don't get this type of team ready until now to mid-February. You start to turn the corner. But again, our best basketball is ahead of us. If everybody else is where they are, our best basketball is still ahead of us.
And coach is identifying kind of your defenders and trying. Does that mean protecting them in terms of your scheme and who you're using around them, or does it mean changing personnel-wise?
No, it's scheme, because every team has guys on the court that can't defend, but you'll never know the way the schemes are. And at the end of the day, everyone has to give that effort. All you want is to fight in the effort, you know. And it's just, to me, I never really got to know these guys before I recruited them. So it's like I'm still getting to know JQ, Naquan, JB, Jaquan, David, and all these guys. It's just, that's what happens when you go in the portal and get a guy for 1 year, and you're trying to fight and battle for positioning.
I remember last year in the tournament, you said, you know, like ultimately one of the things you hoped to change was get these guys in a little earlier. Obviously, the way circumstances played out this offseason, it ended up felt like they got them in even later than last year.
Yeah.
Is that something you, going through what you're going through now, thinking into the future, like if we're going to be a portal-heavy team, like we need to figure out a way to, you know, I need to change something in terms of bringing these guys in and getting them incorporated?
In a perfect world, you'd love to get everybody here by June. But a lot of times, it doesn't happen here, because when guys leave here, they're ready to go right away. A lot of these guys stop doing their work because they're like, I'm done with work. I'm not going to do my schoolwork. I'm going to the NBA. And then when it gets to the point where they don't make the NBA, they got to go back and go to summer school to get eligible to go to the next school they want to go to. So that's why we always have to wait, because the better players, they shut off in January, February, after the first semester, and then just barely make it through the second semester. And then you start getting these guys late, and then we've never had a full roster in June, which was what you need to get better.
Hey, Penny, with this conference, even though they don't get the outside respect, top to bottom, that top seven is really top heavy. Have you explained the sense of urgency? Because last year the top five got the bye, this year only the top three get the bye, and you don't want to play 4 days going to the tournament because you don't want to put yourself in a situation where you have to win the tournament.
Yep.
So how do you impress the sense of urgency on the team to take care of business one game at a time, so when you come to March, you don't have to worry about playing five days to get to court work?
Yeah, it's just having them understand that, because as much as I talk to these guys about the conference, Naquan, JQ, and David coming from Big East, SEC, and Big 12, they're still seeing the name on the chest and going, oh, all right. And you just, if you haven't learned by now, we barely beat Tulsa, we barely beat UTSA, we lost to South Florida being up 20, and we lost at Tulane. So it's like you can't underestimate anybody. This league is not respected around the country, but this league is still, I'm looking at the teams, man. These teams are good. You know, are we the dominant team as far as the talent? Yes. But if you don't come to play, then on any night you're going to get beaten. And like you said, you don't want to play 4 games in a row, 4 days in a row in the tournament. You want those 3 days, and you want the early game. The higher seeds get the early game so you can get the rest, so you don't have to, you know, be as tired having that night game.
How critical is Jaquan the rest of the way, just given obviously the Caleb injury as well? It's like Sunday, second half, and he's not playing, he starts to look at the wing, and it gets thick kind of quick.
Well, with Jaquan, he's been the guy that we put on all the better players. So you lose your best defender with an injury, and then Nicholas is our second best defender that we put on people. He's food poisoning. So now we got to ask David and JQ to step up and be the guys when they're usually the ones that are guarding the third and fourth options, to be honest with you. And with Jaquan, he's so important because Caleb was one of those other guys. Him and Jaquan and Nick were the guys to protect everything, and we don't have that luxury anymore without Caleb.
I wanted to ask you about the two sons. Obviously, you played Jaden a lot when Jaquan got hurt.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like he's not having quite the year he had the past couple of years. Action since the Bahamas seems to be, you know, here and there. I'm curious for you, playing the role of both dad and
Mhm.
coach, especially in moments like this where it sounds like chemistry is an issue and people are, you know, there's scrutiny because you lost 2 games in a row. How do you balance that, like being dad, being coach, and giving them minutes and how you use them, especially
Yeah, I just go by what I see in practice and what I know that's real. You know, obviously Ashton is a talent. He's more talented than Jaden. But if you ask anybody in this building, Jaden is kind of one of the most important guys because he's going to box out every time. He's going to contest every time. He's going to do all the stuff that people don't respect because he doesn't put points on the board. But he's our most solid player. And if you ask anybody in there, if you try not to play him, they'll ask him to put him in the game. He's not scoring because he doesn't look to shoot bad shots, but he's a stabilizer out there. He understands what's going on. He talks and he communicates. People that don't know basketball can say that. It's like some people scrutinizing losing the game after winning 10 in a row. When everybody around the country is losing, nobody's winning 10 in a row, though, and the teams that we beat. So we understand it. I get it. You guys never hear me cry and moan about what people say or think about me because it doesn't matter. It's a game. It's sports, and these are kids. You never know which side of the bed they're going to wake up on to be ready to go and be ready to play. And then you got injuries in the last game. If you don't think that affected us, then something's wrong with that. That affected us heavily in that game with a team that's been together 3 years that's capable of beating anybody on their home court. They lost at UTSA on the road, but at home, they're much better. If they don't foul on a three-pointer against FAU on national TV, they leave there with a win. They beat the 2 ranked teams in the country in the conference. So at the end of the day, as a dad, I don't teach my sons that you're going to be given this. You got to earn it. That's what I want them to understand. And Ashton is doing much better. He's getting more minutes. I didn't put him out there in the second half because I went with a veteran on the road. And Jaden, even though Ashton can shoot it and do those things, it's just other things that you can't have a lapse in on the other end. And again, both of them are getting better.
Penny, it seems like in years past, I don't know if crisis is a fair term or crossroads or whatever, whether it be 2 years ago when you were 9 and 8 and you put the team up fire, or last year, you expressed chemistry issues and probably one of the best teams in the country in the last year. What have you learned from those experiences, having the ability to quickly turn things around, get your team going late, and how can you take those things and apply them now?
I think the biggest thing is it's the character of the kid, how fast you can turn it around. Like they have to have a care factor about what's going on because now in this world of business where it's about NIL and me, you have to hope a kid that you get for 1 year or 6 months cares enough to want to turn it around. It falls on the coach, it falls on me, that's fine. And that's what's supposed to happen because I'm supposed to take that. But it's the character of the kid that has to say, hey man, look, coach has our back. We know what we have to do. He's given us everything that we need. We have to go out here and fight. And if we leave it all out on the line and lose, we can accept that. But if we don't, then those are bad losses. And we didn't leave it all out on the line in either one of those losses, and it costed us. So for me, in the past, teams have just gotten tired. The players have just gotten fed up and said, okay, listen, and do it. And it has to happen again. We're not in a crisis right now. We've lost some leverage, a bunch of leverage, but we still have a team that can make it to the Final Four and play with anybody in the country. So, and like again, our defense can go from horrible to great just from the tweaks that we're doing this week. So, and it's not for lack of effort, it's just for lack of understanding. And now, understanding is there, it's just going to be the effort. I'm sorry.
I was just saying, are the guys pissed now? Have you gotten that reaction?
Yeah, I think it's to the point. I mean, they need to be because there's no other way to be. I'm always on edge. I know how Memphis is viewed. I know how I'm viewed. I know that every single mistake that we make here is going to be costly around the country, and they got to know that. So now it's up to them to be like, you can't play musical chairs, man. That's what can't happen. And you listen to coaches around the country, I can't yank this guy, yank this guy, yank this guy. Then all of a sudden you yank those guys for not doing what they're supposed to do, and you put guys in there that are not supposed to be in the game, and you lose the game and go, why didn't he play? Boom, boom, boom. So the guys that have the most, to whom much is given, much is required, the head guys have to show up, not just offensively but defensively. And that's the way it is. Yeah, UAB is, again, they're going to play zone the entire game, and they're going to play tough at home. Everybody plays tough at home. We've gone on the road and won in hostile environments, but what I've said about UAB is they're going to play hard. They're going to try to bring the fight to us, and they're going to have a hostile crowd. And you got to go in there ready to fight.
How important is this rivalry with the Blazers? What can you recall about your time playing against UAB connected?
It's so many ties connected with UAB, obviously with Coach Bardo, Coach Finch, in the University of Memphis. And my battles with them back in the day were just knockdown, drag-out fights, man. They just scrapped so hard because anytime we came into the building, it was almost like they don't respect us. We have to earn their respect. Like they're going to respect us when they leave. And with this roster, with all the names, those same guys are going to do the same thing. Oh, they have the 5 stars. That's all Coach Andy Kennedy has to say, and we're the 1 stars, 2 stars, 3 stars. Poor us, huh? And then that just fires their guys up. So we know going into UAB, it's going to be a battle, and what we have to do. And I've told my team enough. They know enough now. It doesn't even, to them, it's like, Coach, we know it's going to be tough for UAB, but we got to get our act together. It's really on us to be ready to fight.
Real quick, how's the board wins preparation going?
It's going well because of the bye week. I wish he would have been behind 2 wins, but you know, it's been going really well because he's gotten back into the fold of the scrimmages and being around the guys and getting basketball work. There was no way I could put him in the game at Tulane. I talked to him a little bit about it before we left. Didn't want to do him like that, but after this week, you know, probably can start to see him in some situations.
Another question, Caleb, when are you gonna be able to get back on the bench? I know he's the leader on the team with his force.
Yeah, I missed that. You know, he talks to the guys when they get back, but I don't know the actual timetable. I heard him say yesterday it will be soon. So I don't actually know the timetable on that though. But he's definitely missed because he was our definite leader, vocal leader and leader, just talking about everything out there.
Thanks, sir. Appreciate it.
All right, thanks.